Welcome to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings, with me, Greta Chamberlain, and the Realm of Beings. Shifting Impressions, which is one of the vehicles that supports the transmission of the Realm of Beings, is here to assist you in delving into your being by providing numerous topics and discussions for you to intake as you deepen your connection with your inner world. Shifting Impressions is here to assist you in strengthening yourself as you excavate to understand your true nature. Join us today and learn to shift your mindset, shift your thoughts, and shift your focus to recreate your life and produce a new you. Shifting Impressions starts now.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. I'm Carol, and I'm here with Greta, of course, the Realm of Beings. And again, we are blessed with a guest host of Kathleen Lee. Welcome, Kathy.
Thank you.
We are very happy to be here on Transformation Network every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 a.m. Pacific Time. And you can catch our episodes on your favorite streaming device like YouTube or whatever you like to use. You can also find us on therealmofbeings.com. These conversations with the realm are here for us to help with shifting our impressions and creating the realities that we want. Every week, Greta is given a quote by the Realm of Beings, which we will discuss in some detail. And halfway through the broadcast, we will have the realm weigh in themselves. Greta, before I give the quote, I'd like to just make a quick announcement. Listeners, Greta, especially if you're in Florida,
And
Greta and company will be at the New Life Expo in Deerfield Beach, Florida at the Doubletree Hilton Hotel on March 16th and 17th. She's at booth 403. You can buy your tickets online. We have the links on both Instagram and Facebook, or just go to therealmofbeings.com or just call the hotel. And I will tell you, they go fast. They're free. I was going to say they sell out, but we don't sell them. You don't want to miss it. It's wonderful. Every time Greta appears somewhere with the realm, it's like the lines are going out the building. So please, if you're in Deerfield Beach or anywhere close to it, get your tickets for March 16th and 17th at the New Life Expo. And that's enough of the word from our broadcast. Greta, you wanted to say something?
yeah, I just wanted to remind everybody that Kathy, who has joined our podcast as a co-host, will also be in Florida with me. So it will be the two of us. Yeah.
Perfect.
So also,
okay, it's time for the quote.
I'm sorry, Carol, I didn't mean to cut you off, but also I just want to add that we have two wonderful raffle bags if you attend Greta's lecture and the workshop that we're giving away. They're valued at $125 a piece. We're giving them away for free to two lucky winners that come to the workshops in Florida. So we'll see you next week.
Oh, excellent. That sounds exciting.
Lucky winners.
Well, luck is all subjective. We create our luck. Enough for the word from our sponsors. Let's get to the quote. This one, it's a biggie. It's a great one. It's thank you versus forgiveness. Forgiveness is an extension of victimhood because you believe that someone has done something to you. However, this is a misperception. You create your reality at every moment and are fully responsible for it. Therefore, when you understand this concept, you can no longer blame anyone for your creation. So you can now reach the understanding of thank you because you were supported in your chosen lesson. I love this one because I feel it opens up a big can of worms on a lot of previous teachings that we've had from everywhere, from religion to self-help books to what have you. And they're always talking about forgiving others, forgive yourself, forgive others. And especially in religion, it's a lot about forgiveness. And again, what are you forgiving? You created everything. As soon as you get that concept and you can understand it, you understand anyone that you're not happy with or you feel did something to you. No, they didn't. All they did was support something you were trying to learn. So you can thank them. No need for forgiveness at all. Ladies, who wants to go first?
I'm looking at Greta.
And I was looking at Kathy. Yeah, forgiveness. See, the whole premise is the first thing is to note that we create our own reality. And let me add another word to that. We create our personal reality.
Ooh, good one.
Because some people think co-create, I'm co-creating with somebody. I've heard people tell me that co-creating. You're not co-creating with anybody, you're creating with yourself. And that's it. The only thing that other people or other things come to you because you've attracted them to you, one. Number two, they're supporting you where you are at. If you are a person that does not love yourself, then you're going to find that you're going to attract events to yourselves. You're going to attract people to yourselves that are going to support you where you are at. If you're in a relationship with someone that you wish that you weren't in, then, and they're treating you in a nasty way, you are creating that, being treated that way because that's where you are at. So everything, and we say it almost at every podcast, everything is create, support, create. That's how all of existence, I don't care if you're in another universe, it works. Create, support, create.
And just to elaborate on that, remember too that you have no impact on anyone else. You do not make someone love you. You do not make someone else be nice to you. They're creating their own reality. You can support them in their creation, but always focus the fact that you are creating everything that you're experiencing.
And you know what? I'll be very honest with you. Even on a personal level, for me, my own personal reality, you know, it's funny how, you on a personal level, I float back and forth because as you opened up, Carol, we are socialized in this society to have prejudiced personalities. We're socialized within religious institutions. If you go to the Beatitudes, when Jesus said you're blessed and all of this forgiveness and stuff, and you feel guilty if you don't. But there's a lot of emotional and physical damage that you do to yourself. When people say, I think of my family, if someone does something, oh, just bless them, and just let it go, just bless them, bless them. It's hard to do that sometimes, and that's why this quote, when I thought about it, and just even what I created, for myself the past few days, I had to keep reminding myself, no one hurt you, you hurt yourself. No one did anything to you, you did it to yourself. And when you're
Exactly.
sitting there by yourself, even though I know we all see each other now, we're looking at each other, but I'm really still by myself, and figuratively and literally, we just extend it out. This is a hard. It's like combing the back of the kitchen, back of your back of your hair, where all the knots are. It's hard to comb it out, and it's hard sometimes to let it go. And question that I have is, they say forgive yourself, but how do you forgive yourself? And why should you forgive yourself? And what happens if you can't forgive yourself? What harm does it do to you emotionally and mentally and physically when we get stuck in this forgiveness stuff where thank you to me, since we're dealing with personal realities, has a tendency to be more personal.
I don't think there's any need to forgive ourselves either. And just like I don't think there's any need for us to bless anybody else, whatever that word really means, because again, depending on our upbringing, that word had different connotations. But it's the one thing I have to say, before I met Greta or ever heard the words creation of reality, there was one belief I held myself, and that was that I knew I was responsible for everything that was happening to me. I didn't know how, I didn't know that I was creating it, but I did know that no one else was to blame. Now, where my problems lie, and Greta has tried to help me through, is stop beating up on yourself. That's where we're talking. You don't have to forgive yourself, just stop beating up on yourself. And that's what I try to do.
And that's where I've been. I've been
I
beating
hear
up on
you,
myself
sister. I've
since
been there too.
yesterday. This morning, I've beaten myself up. I couldn't sleep last night because I was beating myself up because I did something that, was just, I just didn't like. And when I thought about it, I said, they're going to, why did I create that? Why did I create to experience that again? Because, the event that happened, it just took me back to my father, going back to a simple math problem. Johnny had 10 apples. He gives somebody 2 apples and somebody else a quarter of apple. How many apples does Johnny have? And I'm like, oh no, why did he have 10 apples? He's just one kid. I could never wrap myself around anybody having more than one apple. I was lucky to get the apple. But when my father would, I was like a deer in the headlights. How many does he have? And he's like, two. Oh, stupid. It's like, it just makes you just feel, you know, it's funny how these things come back to you and
The
you start
flashbacks.
thinking and you start beating yourself up. And
Right.
then, but at least now from Greta and from working, from you and just all the stuff, that we do, and even as a facilitator, I've learned now to look inside of myself. Everything I know comes from me, but it
Absolutely.
still doesn't make it any easier for me. A lot of times, it really
I
does.
hear it. I agree. I agree. And I
But I'm
think you
human.
answered your own question on where it started when you said your
Oh,
father.
okay.
So
I
when you
hated
were
math. I
asking the
hated
right
math.
question, why
I
did I
hated math.
create this? And then I believe it's not only why I created it, but where did I start creating it?
And why did I create it? I
Right.
didn't like
And you were
math.
dealing with fractions, for crying out loud. Who does fractions at that?
I don't
He
know.
had 8 3/4 apples left, or
But I
7
noticed,
three quarters.
but what it does is but it's lack of confidence. It's
Right.
your own security that's coming out.
And
And then
doubt.
it's doubt. Then you begin to
Doubt,
question
fear,
everything.
lack of
And
self-love.
then you freak out. And it's lack of self-love. And I keep going back to that. And it's like, okay, that's okay, that's right. That's right. Okay. But you analyze and you analyze and you analyze, and you still just go, I still don't know why I'm doing this. I just
I'm
don't
gonna
want to do
tell you why what Greta told me, because I
what?
would say to her, I know, I've been studying this, what, like 6, 7 years now, Greta? And I
A
Yes.
long
say,
time.
but I know this, I know better. I'm on a podcast every week telling other people how to do this. Why am I not doing it for myself? And
Hello.
Greta's answer, which helps me feel better about myself, is because you've been practicing how not to love yourself for way longer than you've been practicing to love yourself. So that's when I
Absolutely.
stopped beating up on myself.
Right.
Because you learn from, we've chosen our parents to provide us with support for the lessons that we're coming to learn. And when we start getting into it, it's so that sometimes the training, quote unquote training, that our parents gave us in looking at low vibration and being in low vibration in reference to ourselves, it becomes, and we practice it. See, they trained us, we practice it. So many people. And, it's always to go back to when you were growing up as a kid. What were the low vibrational things that you learned?
Right.
What were they? And one thing, forgiveness, people put forgiveness on a high pedestal. A friend of mine, she's a minister, and what she does is she goes around talking about forgiveness. Forgive, forgive, forgive. Well, when are you going to get to the thank you part? Sometimes they can sit in forgiveness for years. I mean, she's been teaching this for years. Forgiveness, forgiveness. So it just means you don't understand about creation of reality.
And in our quote, forgiveness is tied very closely with another very good word that most of us have learned at a young age, victimhood. How many times have we been victims? And how much easier is it to just say, oh, woe is me, all this bad stuff that I had to go through growing up. It's so much easier to feel pity for yourself than to feel love for yourself. Or gratitude for yourself. And I think I'm getting closer to understanding how many people I need to thank in my life that I might have harbored resentment for in my past. So, well, there's no past, there's no time. So,
Right.
But yeah, I was very good at being a victim. So, because I was also a savior.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and we get into that, because I tell people if we want to step in the savior, you got to be careful because there's a fine line between saving somebody and helping somebody. And you want to stay on the helping side, you don't want to move over into the low vibrational side, which is let me save you from your own life. What's interesting, some people that I've met, they're about saving other people's lives while they're drowning themselves.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah. So that's why it's important. We have to spend time with ourselves with this. Let me see, what else does this thing quote say? Well, it talks about you create your reality at every moment. We discussed that. Therefore, when you understand this concept, then you can no longer blaming. It's easy to blame people. I spent my life blaming my mother for everything that I went through that I didn't like. Okay, you did this. You did this to me. Look what you did. And you know what's interesting? People in general, don't realize that children are creating their reality as well. They don't think of that. And they don't think that babies inside the womb are creating their reality. They don't think like that. They think, okay, well, the adult's in charge. Like I'm putting my daughter in ballet school. So then you say, okay, I'm doing this. But it's not that you're supporting her. Your daughter wanted to go to ballet school. You see, that's what she was creating, to go to ballet school. And the only thing you did was give her the support and pay the money. But you think it looks like you did everything.
Well, Greta, I don't think anyone has ever taught before, at least in my life, I've never heard teachings about everyone, including children and babies, are creating their own reality. I mean, now I know a blade of grass is creating its own reality, but who else ever taught that before, really?
No one, because I was raised, children should be seen and not heard.
Exactly.
My
Yes.
nickname was Old Trumpet Ears because I was always trying to listen in and see, what was going on, and because that was my personality, because if I couldn't be seen or heard, at least I could hear what you're doing, And that was my way of trying to, I guess, fit in, trying to understand what was happening around me, but but like I said, even if you say, "Oh, I forgive you," how do you know if the person even means it? It's like empty words sometimes to me. Even when you say thank you, thank you, you can say thank you very much. It does have a little different bit of a ring to it, but I guess for me, I want to get down to the point where when I say thank you, I'm acknowledging the other person's beingness and their isness with the force. That's kind of like where I kind of want to go for myself. I just want to love myself unconditionally that much that I don't have to keep
You had
beating
me
myself.
up to you said before yourself, because I believe it starts solely with self, and you can't even experience appreciation or love of anyone else if you don't put yourself as number one.
Number one. And people think that's a selfish thing to do.
Exactly. That's what we've
You're
been taught.
raised to
That's
think you should not.
selfish.
That guy, they throw them parables at you. Well, what would
Yep,
Jesus?
yep.
I don't know. I wasn't there, so I don't know what.
Most of them are myths, Kathy, believe me. They've all been plagiarized from much, much, much older civilizations. So, Greta, I do have a question that I think Kathy even touched on a little bit. Okay, we're getting the gist about not blaming others for things that we're creating. How do we not blame ourselves if we're creating something we don't actually want?
That is really an interesting question. We talk about doing the QDRs.
Mm-hmm.
If you find yourself going there, that you want to beat up on yourself, you can have the QDR, quick displace to replace, and we can talk about that later on in the podcast. How do you do that? But you truly, I want to say this to that question that you asked me, Carol. You truly want to change that. You truly want to change getting out of guilt. See, blaming yourself is also guilt. And one of the mental equivalencies that your body can go through because you're feeling guilty over something and you're holding on to it and you don't want to get rid of it is pain.
Mm.
Pain. I'm getting a headache. I'm pain. I've had several people that have not let go of situations, personal situations that they're having, and instead get rashes. They have rashes growing all over their body. One woman, she gave up because she felt that the rash wasn't going away. But it was, she was gradually letting it go, but it was because she had had miscarriages, not abortions, but miscarriages. And one, they had to terminate the life of the child because it was not coming, it was not going to be born well.
Wasn't viable.
Right, it was not viable. And so what did she do? She created rashes all over her body. And a rash, one of the significant things about a rash is loss. So you're itching because you feel the loss of something. I remember when my daughter moved out of the house, she told me, she said, I can't be cold anymore. I'm moving to a warmer climate. And so finally she decided to move to Houston, Texas. And I was at the conscious level, I was cool with that. Gave her support. Her dad and I took her to the airport. We kissed her goodbye, go with accolades. Know we love you. If you need assistance, call us. We're here for you and all that stuff. Man, I got home. I was writing a paper for school. And all of a sudden, my hands started itching. Then later on, my arms started itching. Then my face started itching. Then I was scratching my head. Finally, I said, "Oh, let me go to bed," because I said, "I don't know what this is about." I'm scratching. I started scratching all over my body. So of course I went to Louise Hay so that I could find out kind of what that was about. And that was loss.
Mm.
And that was at the unconscious level. I felt that I had lost my daughter because she had moved away, which was not accurate, but just that movement away. And then the next day, she called me to let me know she was settled where she was living and everything was all right. Now, while she's talking to me, I'm still itching, right? It took an hour. She stayed on the phone with me for an hour. After an hour, I stopped itching.
Wow.
Just like that. And I realized, wow, it was all about Kai leaving. But I didn't, what do you call it, beat up on myself because of that. Itching was enough. I didn't need to do anything else to beat up on myself, So there are different ways that we find to beat up on ourselves if we don't love ourselves. We even create other people to come and show us that we don't love ourselves. I had one woman that I'm working with, and her husband gave her a black eye.
Mm.
Okay. So, yep. So that she was not loving herself because he supported her in showing her that.
I'm laughing because once I gave myself a black eye. And I wish I'd known about creation reality then, because that would have opened my mind to so much of what was going on in my life at that time. But I
I'm so
literally,
curious. How did you do that, Carol?
I had a metal food dish for my cat. And I was angry at the boyfriend and I was going to smack him with it, but he ducked and it went boom and hit me in my eye.
Did
And
it hurt?
What?
Did it hurt?
Oh, it hurt. It hurt. It turned purple and everything. And he freaked out because we were staying with his aunt and he knew that she would think it was that he did it. And he got scared because he was afraid that she would yell at him. And here I did it to myself. So it's all about intention too.
Because your emotions get involved. And that's why I was asking before,
Exactly.
Greta. I mean, when you're stuck on thinking that you have to forgive people and forgive yourself, like forgiveness versus thank you. I mean, you can stress yourself out. You can hold a lot of anxiety, and it takes a toll on you physically, mentally, and emotionally. It can destroy you. You can go into depression, isolation, and I just think of people that I know. But it's funny, I can see it in someone else, but sometimes it's hard to see it in yourself.
Absolutely.
But if you see it in someone else, isn't that a way to understand that you're mirroring something in yourself anyway?
Yeah, I can honestly say it does, but I'll tell you what it does has since I've learned this, and the more I understand it, the more I'm able to accept the reality that the other person is creating for themselves. In other words, I'm moving more towards I'm not judging them. It's just I have to decide how much do I want to support that, or do I even have to support that? Do we have to support that if we don't want it, Greta?
No, because you're always creating your own reality.
Oh, okay. So therefore, if you just kind of let people go, just step back, you know, um, that's the part that I find very interesting. Just
Live and let live.
exactly. Just let them be, and it's okay to let them be.
Exactly. That's what the realm tells us. No matter what we do, it's okay because we're creating it.
You don't
The
have to forgive
judging,
them, and they don't have to forgive you. It's
that's
okay.
right. Judging, that's a hard one. And I know we've had this discussion on this podcast before. Part of what we're learning from Greta and the realm is that in addition to unconditional love of self, create, support, create, we're supposed to understand that we are all one energy. We are all the force, and that it's not within our responsibilities to judge anybody else's creation of reality. And that's all very well and good when I look at Greta and I look at Kathy and I'm like, I'm happy being one with them. But then when you think about Jeffrey Dahmer or Adolf Hitler, and it's like, I don't really want to be one with them.
Or even some more contemporary people now.
It's hard to not judge the low vibration stuff, but to try to just recognize. And I still struggle with that one. Because,
well, see, it's to look at personality.
Mm-hmm.
You see, everybody is the force. Everything is the force. But let's stay just with human people. We are all the force. The people that are in prisons for various reasons, some of them are there to punish themselves. Others are there because they supposedly hurt other people. Notice I said supposedly hurt other people. But they are the force as well. What they're showing us is personality. Personality. Jeffrey Dahmer had a personality. And that's what he did as his personality.
And his victims supported it.
Right, absolutely. Hitler had his personality, Mussolini. Like Kathy said, we can look at people now that we could call that are providing challenges for us. That's their personality. But underneath that personality, they are the force. And those personalities come out because it's like the force wants to experience experiential evolution. So it wants to experience itself. It doesn't want to be, quote, not that it can be bored. We're bored as humans, but it cannot be bored. It's just experiencing itself. It doesn't blame anybody. It doesn't think somebody's good and somebody's bad. It just doesn't get into all of that. It's just the isness of something. Something is. That's what it is. It just is.
So,
and I try to not judge. Like I try not to form that opinion about anything or anybody, because it's all part of the learning experience we're going through right now.
Right.
Kathleen, go ahead. Get one more thing in before the break.
Because my question was, is what we're saying sounds real good in our rooms where we're sitting. But when we're talking about the jails, the people in the jails and everything, it's like we're talking about a society that has more people in jail than kind of vote sometimes. And people are looking at them as they did something to someone else. Therefore, I know they're self-punishing them, but that's not how they're seeing it. And when their people are listening to this podcast, they're going to say, oh, gee, so that person, Jeffrey Dahmer's victims, agreed to be his victims because of his personality. So why is he in jail? You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because we've set up constructs. We've set up belief systems that support that this person is bad because they did such and such. This person is good because they're doing this. So we're dividing the people between good people, between bad people. We even have a category of them being really terribly the worst dregs of the earth. You know what I mean? So we're constantly doing that because in this expression of humanness comes the illusion of, right. And part of those illusions are separation. See, when we can say thank you, there's no need for us to separate ourselves. There's no need for that because we're just all understanding we're supporting each other. So I'm going to thank you for supporting me in the lessons that I have. Yeah. I think it's time, Carol, for
Yes,
us.
it absolutely is. We're going to hear from the realm. Listeners, please stick with us. We'll be back in just a few moments. And this has been a very lively discussion. And I can't wait to hear what the realm wants to say to us. We'll see you in a bit.
Overflow your life with joy as you honor your magnificence. Overflow your life with joy as you honor your magnificence. Overflow your life with joy as you honor your magnificence. Overflow your life with joy as you honor your magnificence. Overflow your life with joy as you honor your magnificence. Overflow your life with joy as you honor your magnificence, your magnificence, your magnificence.
Thank you, listeners. Welcome back to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. We are at that point of the broadcast where the realm will come in and weigh in on their quote that they provided to us and Greta. Realm, are you with us?
Absolutely, we're here.
And we're happy to have you. Well, Realm, here's the quote. It was forgiveness versus thank you. Forgiveness is an extension of victimhood because you believe that someone has done something to you. However, this is a misperception. You create your reality at every moment and are fully responsible for it. Therefore, when you understand this concept, then you can no longer blame anyone for your creation. So you can now reach the understanding of thank you. Take it away, Realm. That was a mouthful, right?
Thank you, Carol. We put a lot in there because it takes a while for people to, sometimes, not all the time, but it takes a while for people not to blame others. And because when you blame others, that goes into a term that we've been teaching lately called reverberation. When you're blaming someone, then what goes along with blame? Anger. Then what can go along with anger? Hate. I hate you because you hit me. I hate you because you treated me badly. You see, so you started off with anger, now you've gone to hate. And see, it grows and grows. So the blaming, that need to blame somebody, also helps you to satisfy yourselves in knowing that you didn't do it. That's not my fault. I didn't do it. I didn't burn the food up. You did it. You're responsible for it. So we want to blame, blame, blame. Then when that person supports us in the blame, then what do you find yourselves in? You find yourselves in a big argument. Each one of you going at the other. because now the blame, which started with you blaming somebody, the other person then finds something to blame you about. So you just keep going and going and going and going until you reach lower depth, and really until you can make yourself sick from something like that.
You know, I just visualized a ping pong match with the blame going back and forth until one person hits it so hard that it hits the other person in the face. And that's not going
Absolutely.
to do anybody any good.
No, and it doesn't help either person. Like having you want to save somebody. I'm going to save you from yourself. And then the person comes back at you. And then you go, where did that come from? I was just trying to help the person. No, you were trying to save the person. So what did the person do? The person turned around and used blame, blamed you for something that you thought you were trying to save them from. And they say, well, that was your fault. You did that. I didn't have anything to do with that in the first place. You did it. So you can go on and on. Yes,
I
Carol.
think that's a word we should remove from our vocabulary is fault, as it relates to people, not fault like the San Andreas one. To say something's your fault, my fault, that's a word that I feel shouldn't even be in our vocabulary because it
But
just equates blame.
you're right, Carol. But understand why is it here in the first place? Why
Because
have
most people
humans?
don't know about creation of reality.
Absolutely.
And to support us also in either understanding it or not understanding it, and learning our lessons or not learning the lesson. It's still all part of the illusion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They don't blame, and it also shows lack of love of self. Because as you see the other person and you're blaming them for something, you're perceiving them in a certain way. You see, you're perceiving them maybe to be a nasty person in the beginning, because then they turned around and did something nasty to you. So you had to perceive them as that. See, that eliminates not all of the low vibrational emotions, but quite a few. Because then you turn around and you just reach inside yourself to deal with the challenge that you personally created, you see. But then the other flip of the coin about that is not to turn around and blame yourselves. As Greta says, don't go down in the rabbit hole sipping tea with Alice, the rabbit, and the Mad Hatter. You then you take yourselves down into depression as well. Why haven't I accomplished this task? So then you blame yourself. Well, I'm lazy. I'm a lazy person. I procrastinate. I don't like myself. I don't think I'm beautiful. I'm
It's
just
like you're in my head realm. I've said all
Mine
those
too.
things.
And in my head too, Realm, because I mean, I went through all of that even up until I would say 30 minutes before showtime, because, I just did, because I couldn't, I was trying to look inward and unravel why I created to learn a certain lesson a certain way. Like, why why is it that, when you when I don't when I feel like when I become insecure or not um lack the confidence, even as a child, I always retreated. Like with the whole math thing with my father, it made me not go to math. It made me stay away from math. I did what I just had to do to be done with it. It wasn't enjoyable. And a lot of it, I think, was just fear of failure. It's just fear. And we just live with all of this fear of punishment, fear of abandonment, all of these low vibrational illusion things that we drum up to learn our lessons. Sometimes it can be extremely overpowering, like you said. And I know one of my favorite stories was Alice in Wonderland. So I know I've been down at that daggone Mad Hatter Tea Party, and I know I was drinking some tea yesterday. I'll be honest with you. And
Hell, I was
today,
brewing the tea, Kathy.
Uh,
We
yes.
definitely know that story.
I wanted a strong tea too. Sorry, I didn't really quite have a question.
Oh, I think that was wonderful. I think that was wonderful. Alice in Wonderland and going down there with at the tea party. But you don't want to be there
No, I don't.
because Alice, the rabbit, the Mad Hatter, and even that queen, what is it? The Queen of
Of
Hearts
hearts.
you have in there. None
She
of
was
those
mean.
characters can lift you up. None of those characters can help you rise above some of the things that you've created. You see, we always are saying this, and we've said it to Greta. The idea is not to succumb to the challenges, but to overcome the challenge. And when you go down to the tea party, or when you sit and blame others, you see, then you are doing detriment to yourselves and you're not honoring your divinity. We want to look and always see divinity outside of ourselves. And we neglect the divinity that is inside ourselves. So when we blame, what is that doing? It's moving us farther and farther away from our divinity. Because then you must see the person as being a bad or horrible person because you're blaming them. And you think that you're taking the whole thing away from you and putting it on somebody else. But what you're really doing is strengthening that very thing inside of you. It appears as though the blame and the anger goes outward to the person. But I'm sure some of you have noticed that you blame something for somebody, and that particular person that you're blaming is walking around just as happy and go lucky as they could possibly be. And you are sitting back, in doom. So you have never touched that person with your anger in the first place. So why give it to them? Why waste your energy doing that? It's really a waste.
Does that apply
But
to when you're angry with yourself?
absolutely.
Okay.
Why? That means you are trying to destroy the divinity within you.
Right.
We are all divine beings. If you're beating up on yourself, you're not loving yourself. There's no need to beat up on yourself. If you have something you're experiencing, It's okay. Relax. Move with ease. We're always telling people, if you move in anger, if you move in fear, that's lack of ease. The only thing that you can create on your life is more lack. And you will see lack growing inside of you as your experiences, like weeds in a garden. If you don't tend the garden, the weeds take over. If you don't tend to your internal garden, the weeds will take over.
Realm, this may actually be a topic for another podcast, but for listeners that may not be familiar with the Urantia book, can you give us an explanation? I think most people associate the word divinity with religion, and I know that's not what we're talking about here. Can you explain divinity in a way our listeners can understand it?
Divinity. We're constantly saying that each one of you, which includes us, the realm of being, is the force.
Mm.
So once you do the, in your own conscious level, thinking you're a horrible person and you think that you need to be punished, that's because you've forgotten that you are the force. You see. So this realm that we're in, this reality that you are in, is set up for you to learn lessons. Because we're talking about being human here now. We're not talking about other species. There are certain lessons that come with this territory, one which is separation.
Mm.
We separate ourselves on various levels: economic, political, religion, education, wellness. Look at the time of the lepers, when leprosy was going on your planet, how people isolated them at that time. Don't go there. Don't be with those people. They had to separate them because they didn't want the disease. There was fear of the disease traveling from these people to the rest of the world. Separation is wonderful. We don't like those people, they're poor. I've even heard other humans use the thing poor trash.
Mm.
In regards to different racial groups and different ethnic groups of people. Look at that.
Untouchables.
Absolutely. So deep separation. Some of us volunteer, we create the reality to be the untouchable. You see, we create the reality to be the leper. You see, because we're setting up more separation in this reality that you're presently in, that you're conscious of. Notice we said that you are conscious of. There are many realities that you are creating that you aren't conscious of, like hate, you see. Consciously, I hate you, but there are other realities that are being created just around me hating you. But guess what? as those realities are being created, they're not for the other person.
All for you.
They're for you.
All for you.
You're the one who says this for this person. And the interesting thing is, as you look at somebody and you criticize them for what they are doing, what they are believing, you don't realize that you're criticizing yourself.
Yourself.
Mm.
You don't realize. See, that quote has a lot of inner meaning. Blaming, you're blaming the other person. And at the same token, you're blaming yourself. Whatever you send to that other person is also part of you. One woman to Greta yesterday told her about this family that she had lived with, told her that they are demons. These people are demons. They're demonic.
Wow.
She called that family demons. Greta said to her, well, you know, you could be possibly talking about yourself
Yourself.
because you can't see the demon in someone else until you recognize that it's in you.
In you. Recognize it yourself. Go on, preach,
Mhm.
realm.
So this is the thing. You know, we highly suggest to people to get out of this thing called blame. Change your ways of looking at people and begin to love yourself. Appreciate yourself. Yes. But the first person, we want to say this again, the first person that you need to take care of is self. Deal with self, because then everything you create is going to reflect you. Your reality reflects you.
You.
Nobody else. Only you. Who have you created to be with you? What circumstances have you created to be in? What financial circumstances have you created to be in? What spousal relationships have you created to be in? All of these things, all of these relationships that we create tell us where we are. Don't see it outside yourself. See it inside yourself at all times. Look inward. Yes.
Realm, we have about a little under a minute. I would like to just remind everybody that Greta, Kathy, and the Realm will be in Deerfield Beach, Florida at the Doubletree Hilton Hotel on March 16th and 17th, booth 403. There will be workshop, there will be raffles, there will be just getting to meet Greta and the Realm is worth everything to me, but please go online and reserve your spot. It is no charge, so just get in there before the crowds don't give you the opportunity. You'll appreciate it, believe me. Realm, with that, are there any final words you'd like to mention before we sign off?
Every week we basically say the same thing, and that is we encourage you to recognize your own divinity and to recognize that you are love itself. So now express it.
Well, Carol, Greta, what's up next week? Trusting myself and others? Is that the topic for next week?
Let's wait till next week, Kathy. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Listeners, thank you so much for joining us. As usual, thank you, Transformation Network. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Greta. And definitely thank you, Realm. We're always so happy to speak with you. Until we create each other again.
Once again, thanks for joining us at Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings on TransformationTalkRadio.com. As you have explored today's creation of reality experience with the Realm and me, Greta, each of you is being supported by us in further developing the understanding that you are not just an individual existing in linear time and space, but a multi-dimensional force of infinite possibilities who is connected to all. So begin to create the realities you want. Join us every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time and 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Shifting Impressions at TransformationTalkRadio.com. So long until we create each other again next Friday.